It's a pleasant good night. Good night, good night, good night, people. I am so excited. I am excited. I'm excited. Anybody else excited? Oh my goodness, people are on already. I am excited tonight. You see me tonight? I feel like Nanny of the Maroons tonight. I feel like Nanny of the Maroons. I feel that resistance. Anybody else feel that resistance? I feel like something great is going to happen tomorrow. Anybody feeling Nanny? Anybody feeling Nanny? You feeling that freedom? Huh? The Maroons, Nanny of the Maroons represents what? The black resistance against slavery. Huh? Black resistance against slavery. You think they could tell Nanny no? Listen, tomorrow, January 13th, 10 a.m., Massy Car Park, Kensington Oval. Who did it? Who did it? Who reached? Hey, listen. We do things decently and in order. Look, see that? What is this say? What is that? What is that? Permit what? Read it. Permit issued. Permit issued. Issued. Done and dusted. Done and dusted. See? Permit issued, people. You all ready? Let me see. Put up a fist now. Come on. Romeo was on at 6:10 today. 6:10 Romeo. Oh my goodness. You can feel it? You feeling the energy? Pamela Edwards. Yes. Anderson Bolden. Who feeling the energy? Uh-huh. Good. Philip. You have the spirit of the Maroons. Philip says, good night. I need at least 300 tomorrow. 300 tomorrow. At least 300 people tomorrow. Where my people at? Listen, we are the opposition. Yes, we're serious, Charm J. Dean. It's serious, we're serious. We here, we're ready to work. We're ready to work. These fields and hills are still our very own, and that's what the Maroons are fighting for. It's our country. These fields and hills are our very own. Hey. We ain't passive. This is not a passive group. This isn't passive. Listen, the Maroons, they dropped them off in Barbados too, you know. Don't follow those history books and telling you, and these historians telling you, all the Maroons went to Jamaica. Where? No. They took them all from the west coast of Africa, and you had some Ashantis were in here too. What's wrong with you? Because they're telling you that because they want to keep you enslaved. But tonight, we're resisting slavery. We are the resistance in here. And our resistance doesn't have to be, all physical. But Barbadians are intelligent people. They are educated people, and they understand. They understand, and they know what a dictatorship is when they see one. They understand what a dictatorship is, and they say, no, not me. Not me. They're walking in the spirit of their ancestors. They're walking in the spirit of Bussa, Nanny Greg. Yeah? ADG. Yes, ADG. We coming out in our numbers tomorrow. Carry your granny, your auntie, your picnic them. Everybody come out. It's a safe environment. And let them see that you're standing for something. This is our future, guys. What are we saying tomorrow? We're not against anything digital. That'd be silly, because it is because of the whole digital technology while we're here online. So we're not against digital technology. What are we saying? We're saying that when it comes on to digital ID and our biometrics being connected to the digital ID, we say no. And we believe In this day and age, we have been taught by our ancestors. Our ancestors have taught us that we can ask questions. Our ancestors have taught us that whenever we feel anything that is oppressive on us, we break free from it. That's what our ancestors have taught us. That's what Bossa is saying to us. That's what Nanny Greg is saying to us. That's what Nanny of the Maroons of Jamaica is saying to us. We will take no form of oppression. We have the right to be humans. We have the right to decide what happens to our bodies and what happens to our biometrics. That's what it is, our data relating to us, and we resist. It's about resistance. Yeah? Tracy Barrow, it is about resistance. Tomorrow, it is all about resistance. Sir Alfred, it's about resistance. We are resisting any form of oppression. Any form, any chains, we are breaking it. That's not what our ancestors taught us. Many of them died. They died fighting. This is not about any political party. This is about our freedom. This is about our conscience. This is about who we are. This is about us, our inner selves, us being Barbadians. These fields and hills, it's about the loyal sons and daughters of Barbados. This is what this is about. This is about taking a stand for this country. That is what this is about. Standing up. Don't tell me about any color. Don't tell educated Barbadians about blue and yellow and red and all of that. We're educated people and we know better. And so tomorrow is about resistance. It's about resistance. It's about freedom. It's about our future. It's about our past, because we are connecting with what our ancestors did. Some people hear you say ancestors, say, oh, don't talk about the ancestors. No. The Bible talked about ancestors. The God of Jacob, Isaac, David, and all of that, those are ancestors. They died. So we're talking now about Nanny Greg, and we're talking about Bossa in here, and we're talking about Nanny of the Maroons, and we're talking about Kojo, and we're standing up on all of that foundation tonight. And we are ready. We are ready. Our placards are ready. We are marching for data privacy and protection from hacking. What is wrong with that? Nothing wrong with that. When we live in a country where so many of our essential services have been hacked, we are marching against a decentralization, against the centralization, of our data. We want to be able to give consent to share our information, transparency and accountability in data management. Those are some of the things that we are fighting for. We are fighting for transparency and accountability in government. Those are the things that we are fighting for. And we are telling our Prime Minister that you are not in a position to tell us that the case is closed. You cannot tell us, madam, that the case is closed, regardless of the party we are from. We understand that the role that you play, you are the Prime Minister, but you are not the Attorney General. You're not using your legal profession at this moment. That's not the capacity that you are speaking to us in. So how dare you, Madam Prime Minister, tell us that the case is closed? We, the descendants of Bossa, the descendants of Nanny Greg, the descendants of Nanny of the Maroons, how dare you? Errol Barrow has educated us. This country has educated us enough for us to understand when we hear nonsense. This country has educated us free of cost, most of us. Yeah? This country has educated us. So when we hear farce and nonsense, this country has educated us enough. So let me see the nannies and the cudgels. Let me see the nanny and the cudgels. Finite, yeah, come. You're coming by grace in fiery red. Correct. I was thinking that. I said if I could find something red, I would wear it because it's not about any color. I wear red tonight. We're looking forward to the Mark CG and Mark. They worked on those placards, and that's it. Everybody doing their thing. Everybody working in accordance. It's what is happening. We already have our guy that provides the water, and we reached out to him. Yeah, Maximus is providing the van, the truck, and everybody. Dave is doing the technical. We have our speakers lined up. We're calling in Bungalites. Coming at this Bungalites. We're calling in Lumumba. We called on Mr. Fred Corbin, but he's busy. He's not able to make it tomorrow. We calling them in. Caswell Franklin, Kemar Stewart. We're calling them in. Rose Corbin. Calling them in tomorrow. Yes. Let me see the thumbs. Find the thumbs up, and we're putting it up. And this is not about any kind of physical takeover, but we're taking back our minds. We're taking back who we are. We've held up a mirror, and we see who we are. Yeah, we held up a mirror. We understand what our mirror image is. That's who we are tomorrow. We are people who now understand what our mirror image is. And we will not be slaves in this country. That's what I tell you. I tell you that now. These fields and hills. These fields and hills. Yes, Tracy Barrow. I feel you. And tonight we're going all the way down. Let's get this thing really hot, guys. Everybody start sharing. If you have not like the broadcast, guys. Like the broadcast. That's another way that we fight. We're not fighting with stick and stone. They want to control the media. Barbados today said, no, we're not going to carry your ad. Barbados today said, no, we're not going to carry your ad. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We're going to use our own social media. You're going to pick up the phone and you're going to call somebody. You're going to tell somebody, I'll pick them up. I'll pick you up. Make sure you come out. If all of us on tonight, right? If everybody, all of us that's on tonight, if we could come out, I know my friends in the diaspora, if they can come, they would be here. I know them. They're serious. See, when you live outside of Barbados, you understand you have something to fight for. You recognize the beauty of this country, and you understand the soul of this country, and you know you have something to fight for. Yeah. So tonight, guys, this is war. This is the resistance. The resistance. We are the opposition, and we are the resistance in here. We are the resistance. Wherever we are, that's who we are. Okay. So, guys, welcome everybody. So tomorrow, it's tomorrow. Yes. Tomorrow. I see you. I see you, Sharon. Oh, I see you, Rachel Thornhill. I see you, Edwin Price. Yes, Spartan Assembly. I see you guys. I see you. And tonight we have, as I showed you the permit, and we always have this. I want to thank the police force for always working with us and making sure that we have what we need and we have our permit. And so we shall be assembling tomorrow. Okay? So you don't let nobody tell you. We got it here. Yes. Now, we haven't paid for this permit yet. Oops, should I have said that? So, guys, we need you to bring some donations tomorrow. And actually, let me quickly look at this. We have a special guest who is coming on, and I think he's about ready. And they didn't tell me how much the permit is just yet. I'm not seeing it on this just yet. All right, but we could get. Oh, there's another one in here. I know the money paper must be in here somewhere. No, they didn't put it in. All right, so we will let you know tomorrow exactly how much it is, but it's because of what we're doing, and they're accustomed to us, and so it's going to be roughly anywhere between $800 to $900. So this permit, and people say, why are you paying to March? Because we want to make sure that we follow the law. There's a time that civil disobedience will be needed. There's a time when civil disobedience will be needed, and everybody will need to sit down and decide for themselves. But one thing I've decided, Pete, who says protest should be free, yes, I agree with that. But one thing I will tell you is that I will not take people on the road and tell them to come to a protest and don't have the proper documents. Then when there is a civil disobedience, you will know. You will know. And so you can decide before you leave home if you want to be part of that. Okay? All right. Wonderful. Now, tonight, guys, we have with us Mr. Nigel Newton, and he is an opposition. He is a part of the resistance. He's normally there commenting every night. You would hear Nigel Newton all the time or see him all the time commenting. And he makes sure he's at the marches. We go and we pick him up, and we have a good old time in our vehicle going up to the marches. He's a lecturer. He has an associate's degree in mass communication. He has a BA in philosophy and psychology. He's a retired probation officer. And he's a member of the loyal opposition, part of the resistance. And so he is here tonight with us, and he is going to be talking to us about governance. Welcome, Mr. Nigel Newton. Welcome, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Marcia. It's a joy to be on your program tonight.
Yes, normally you are on and you're typing in, right?
Yes, indeed.
You're typing and now you're on. And that is what we want to say to those of you are watching. If there is something that you want to share that you would have prepared and you want to come on, contact us. And he presented what he wanted to share, and we were able to look at it and read it. And there is a loyal opposition in Connecticut, all the way in Connecticut. And she was able to help Mr. Newton to put his PowerPoint together, etc. I don't want to call on her name. But somebody's saying, welcome, Mr. Newton, and we want to thank that loyal opposition who decided to come and to put his work together on a PowerPoint for him. And there's another loyal opposition right there with him, making sure all of his technicals are working. So you see how we work. We work together as a family. Welcome, Mr. Newton.
Thank you very much, Marcia.
Yes, well, we can't wait to hear what you have to say. Go right ahead, sir. Go right ahead. Jump right in. We're eager.
Yes, well, good night, all. Tonight we are considering governance, assessment, and recommendations. Distinguished members of the People's Opposition, I welcome this opportunity to share with you my concerns for Barbados at this critical juncture of our history. I sincerely hope that our united effort and recommendations will trigger the demolition of the anachronistic colonial system of governance in Barbados. I also anticipate the birth and inauguration of ethical leadership and the democratization of governance, social construction, economic development, and the process of nation building in the emerging Democratic Republic of Barbados. I'm sorry. My activism for effective democratic governance in Barbados blossomed with my presentation before the Ford Commission on Constitutional Reform on April 10, 1997. My commitment deepened when I contested the 2018 general elections and the 2021 general election in the constituency of St. Philip North. Tonight, I am sharing with you my profound disgust at the deplorable state of governance in Barbados. On May 25, 2018, the governance of Barbados was maneuvered onto the precipice of ethical and moral degeneracy, where it has degenerated into its most diabolical. Therefore, there is no clearly defined national ideology, statecraft, political philosophy, or nationalist perspective in the political culture of Barbados. Our political administrators are suffering from an acute stage of historical amnesia, such that they behave like pimps, prostituting Barbados to the self-appointed masters of the earth. The Barbados Labour Party administration has no interest in our positive regard for our condition in the world. They are deliberately ignorant about the forces and events which led to our plight. They are incapable of comprehending and redressing the spiritual, moral, social, and political consequences of our experience under conquest, the Middle Passage, enslavement, and colonization. Neither do they have any concept of who we are, our hopes and aspirations, vision of the future, or what we perceive to be our role in the survival of the Barbadian ethos. Our capacity to nurture the development of high culture and civilization is utterly oblivious to them. Additionally, the political class is a pack of shameless political operatives whose sole objectives are 10 years in Parliament and a pension for life. These predators have no interest in or commitment to the just, holistic, and balanced economic development of Barbados. For them, Glib, emotionally charged pronouncements are a secure route to political power. I have no confidence in politicians. I do not trust the government, neither do I have any respect for the so-called leadership and decisions of the Prime Minister and her docile, inept cabinet. I will not surrender to such debauchery. Our nation is on the brink of an irreversible moral, political, and economic catastrophe. As concerned citizens of our beloved nation, we must fearlessly resist this insensitive government. We are morally obligated to protect and defend the freedom, agency, and sovereignty of our great grandchildren against the injustices of this government. Concomitantly, we must set in motion the moral and philosophical principles and strategies for the emergence of ethical leadership, the democratization of governance, and the just, equitable, and transparent management of our national resources. As it relates to governance, the incontrovertible historical evidence demonstrates that Barbados has never been, is not now, nor will it be a democracy unless and until we, the people, rise up and take control of our destiny. To such a time have we come. The goal of the people's opposition cannot be an occasion for us to spin top in mud or buy ground for monkey walk pond. Having investigated and determined what has gone wrong in Barbados, and having agreed upon what must be done to rescue our nation from an irreversible catastrophe, we must initiate the inauguration of ethical leadership and good governance in Barbados. Thus, as the people's opposition, we must stand resolute, united, and fearlessly decisive in confronting and removing this corrupt, insensitive, and disrespectful government from office. Governance in Barbados is unjust and psychologically and politically oppressive. It is grossly anachronistic, a relic of European colonial ambition and barbarism against African people. Hence, the urgency of a phenotypically specific and culturally relevant philosophical analysis and perspective on the impact of Western democracy, constitutional order, and science and method of governance on our condition in the world. This, however, demands an incisive understanding of African democracy in pre-colonial Africa. Our traditional practice of democracy, which vested absolute power in the African people, made it extremely difficult for Europeans and Arabs to control Africans. We shall critically analyze what went wrong and created the fertile nesting ground for the barbarism, genocide, oppression, exploitation, and domination of African people and their resources. The historical background. Chancellor Williams gave us a key to unraveling and dismantling the systems and institutions which spawned the diabolical humanitarian crisis which destroyed African agency and sovereignty. While visiting Oxford University in 1954, he attended a lecture by Professor Madden on the history of colonization in Africa. This course was designed for administrators of the British Empire in Africa. Williams observed that Professor Madden complained about the difficulty and near impossibility to rule Africans. Madden's annoyance was triggered by, and I quote, the Africans' wild and most primitive system of democracy. Professor Madden therefore concluded that this system of primitive democracy had to be destroyed before the British system of indirect rule could be effective. Such was the genesis of the so-called democracy, constitutional order, and governance model we so boastfully proclaim. Our system of governance is rooted in white xenophobia, extreme racism, barbarism, and utter disrespect for the dignity, humanity, well-being, agency, and sovereignty of African people. It is an abusive system of governance by stealth and absolute authority. It is contemptuous of due process and an effective mechanism for meaningful redress against governmental abuse. Given the incontrovertible historical evidence, should we be surprised by the attitude and behavior of the Prime Minister? Ought we be shocked and dumbfounded at the ineptitude of the Parliament? Should we? It is against this backdrop that we, the People's Opposition, must intensify our resistance against the aftermath of the catastrophe of May 24th, 2018 and January 2021. In a post-catastrophic Barbados, we shall not tolerate a devious, criminogenic, manipulative system of governance. Presently, we have an administration which mirrors the Greek Senate, which condemned and executed Socrates for allegedly corrupting the youth and in piety, that is, not believing in the state gods of Athens. Tonight, Barbadian parliamentarians believe that they were given a mandate to rule the country for a period not exceeding 5 years, that they have an absolute right to impose policy decisions without consultation and the express consent, agreement, and approval of citizens. They also insist that we, the people, have no choice but to accept the fraudulent results of general elections and the so-called established constitutional order. And that whatever be the indignities of their crimes against us, we are legally obligated to respect their reign of terror pending the conclusion of the forthcoming general elections. The unconditional acceptance and abuse of this system of governance by the black political class created the fertile nesting ground upon which Barbados has broken down at destiny's crossroad. We, however, cannot saunter at dumbfounded, perplexed, and fearful at destiny's crossroads. We have had enough of the arrogance and disrespect. We are determined to take control of our destiny and remove any corrupt, insensitive government from office. Swift, decisive action is mandatory if we are to avert the looming catastrophe stalking our nation. Our task, therefore, is the removal of this dictatorial, insensitive, disrespectful government to preempt our descent into irreversible chaos. How do we achieve our objectives? How might we escape the galloping catastrophe descending upon us? I acknowledge the following recommendations to be a secure route towards our objective. 1. Conceptualization of a unanimity of purpose. 2. Pursuit of a shared vision of the future. 3. Pursuit of an unambiguous image of who we are individually and nationally. 4. Promulgation of a nationalist ideology and political philosophy. 5. Implementation of phenotypically specific and culturally relevant philosophy of education. Redefinition of the role and function of parliamentarians. And finally, creation of an environment for the flourishing of clean governance through the separation of political power and economic power. And I want to pause here and say that the main problem with our governance is that the political powers and the economic power brokers, they are in the same bed. And that's responsible for a lot of corruption and problems in governance in Barbados. And we must, as a people, close that gap, separate the two of them so that we can have ethical leadership and governance in Barbados. Now, what are the requirements for the attainment of such? We need re-engagement with our heritage. And by that I mean the African Constitution, birth of African democracy, the political theories and principles of African constitutional law, and the fundamental rights of the African people, and the fundamental rights of the African people. And I invite you to see page 187, Chancellor Williams, his book was published in 1987, that is, pages 161 to 175 and you will gain all of the information necessary to assist you in understanding what I am saying to you tonight. Comments of the power, containment of the power of governance. I'm dealing with that right now. The government of Barbados is too large. It's maliciously intrusive and destructive in the lives and personal responsibilities of citizens. The Motley administration has arrogated unto itself the right to rule with stealth and absolute power. Governance in Barbados has been a Governance in Barbados has to be, I must say, has to be a collaborative enterprise between the people of Barbados and their duly elected representatives in social construction, economic development, and nation building. Parliament can no longer be a self-regulating, insensitive, demagogic overlord exercising unbridled power and authority over the citizens. Parliament must be vividly accountable to the people in whom absolute power resides and who shall have the constitutionally inscribed and binding right of the power of recall. All proposed legislation shall be subjected to the rigorous scrutiny of the people. No legislation shall be passed into law without the express consent, agreement, and approval of citizens. Thereafter, the said approved legislation shall be presented to the President for her assent. The President shall have an unchallenged dissenting voice and the power to veto all proposed legislations which, in her judgment, undermines the moral compass of the nation or are not in the best interests of citizens and the good governance of Barbados. The aim of these constitutional safeguards shall be the protection of citizens against the enactment of morally decadent and unjust laws, governmental abuse, corruption, and political particularism. Parliament shall be prohibited from selling Barbados's limited land resource and commercial assets to foreign nationals or hostile international organizations. Additionally, no international treaty, agreement, or memorandum of understanding shall be entered into or signed on the behalf of citizens of Barbados without their foreknowledge, express consent, agreement, and approval. Barbados's assent to these and other international laws shall be subjected to the approval of a two-thirds majority of citizens. Now, recent events in the political culture of Barbados indicates that political parties have degenerated into incubators for the birthing of narcissistic tribal political operatives. After hijacking the national consciousness, The leader of the Barbados Labour Party galvanized her supporters into blind, emotionally charged political combats against their perceived enemies. Having secured an absolute majority in the House of Assembly of Barbados, the Barbados Labour Party administration began its reign of terror against the well-being of citizens and the national interests of Barbados. This administration took deliberate, malicious, and unconscionable advantage of its overwhelming majority. For example, the Parliament of Barbados was not properly constituted. The electorate, in their disgust with the Democratic Labour Party, gave the Barbados Labour Party a 30-0 seat majority in the House of Assembly of Barbados. These results created an unexpected constitutional hiatus, such that there is no sitting duly elected opposition party in the House of Assembly of Barbados. Consequently, there is no alternative view on critical national issues to ensure strict adherence to the needed checks and balances for the effective democratic governance of Barbados. This constitutional dilemma requires strict sobriety, fairness, and incisive political analysis, and an unambiguous vision of the future stability and good governance of Barbados. Unfortunately, the legal luminaries, academic community, and the political class failed to assert themselves and render the needed ethical and intellectual leadership to guide Barbados out of this unexpected constitutional hiatus. The newly elected Prime Minister arrogated the role of mediator in the resolution of this crisis. I question the wisdom and legality of such action. Given the delicate, sensitive nature and implication of that crisis, the Prime Minister should have exemplified sagacious statesmanship, exercised extreme caution, and concentrated on the formation of her cabinet. Concomitantly, the Electoral and Boundaries Commission and its legal advisors should have met and analyzed the results of the general elections and their implication for the governance of Barbados and the management of national affairs. Such was not the case. Given the propensity of politicians and party leaders for the abuse and management of political power, and the practice of political particularism, and an incisive analysis of the relevance and role and function of political parties in governance of Barbados is now mandatory. In his book, The Aftermath of Sovereignty, Ayers argued that traditionally West Indian political parties are loosely organized and have constitutions of the paper variety. Party members are generally inactive except during general elections. The accepted party leadership decides candidates. The party structure is hierarchical, with the rank and file voter playing very little part other than by voting at elections. And he emphasized the party structure is demagogic rather than democratic. Such an anomaly creates a fertile nesting ground for the abuse of political power as occasioned by the 2018 and 2021 general elections in Barbados. Hence, the urgency of enacting policies and procedures for regulating the role and function of political parties in the governance of Barbados. Thus, the analysis of the second component in the containment of political power. That is, the implementation of checks and balances on the propensity and capacity of the party leader to commandeer and abuse the office of Prime Minister to the advantage of her or his political party. In his analysis of the power of the party leader, Ayers observed that the more outstanding and unchallenged the party leader, the less likely he or she is disposed to accepting direction from his or her colleagues, and the more he depends upon his or her own charismatic appeal to the electorate. He also cautioned, and this is important, comrade, this caution is very, very, very important for us today in Barbados. An unusually popular party leader may succumb to the temptation of ambition and seek irresponsible power. In view of the rapid advance of mass democracy in the colonies and the fact that emotional appeals have provided the keys to political victory, there was the possibility that West Indian political history might reflect the civil to dictatorship pattern of the ex-Spanish republics and Haiti. Courageous members of the people's opposition, could it be that in the prophetic vision of Ayers, he saw the rise of Mia Motley as the Prime Minister of Barbados? Might it be that he saw a leader drunk with power, political hubris, demagogic triumphalism, political particularism, hijacking the national consciousness of Barbados? Could it be that Ayers beheld the lethargy of an abused, disrespected, fearful, and indolent nation, unable to confront a dictatorial, insensitive, and oppressive government? Peradventure, did he perceive the emergence of the Marcia Weeks show, the moral courage of Caswell Franklin, the righteous indignation of Dr. Nichols, and note the incisive intellect and vision of Kemar Stewart? More importantly, could he have foreseen the courageous leadership of the people's opposition in defense of the dignity, humanity, and unalienable rights of Barbadians against the injustices of the corrupt, dictatorial, and misguided Mayor Motley administration? The reprehensible attitude and behavior of the Prime Minister and her inept cabinet colleagues towards us has plunged the art and principles of governance in Barbados to its most diabolical. Governance in Barbados is a perpetual flip-flop of knee-jerk reactions to the critical, life-changing crises confronting our nation. There is absolutely no nationalism, ideology, statecraft, statesmanship, political philosophy, or a precise vision of the future for Barbados. Additionally, there is no visionary ethical and moral leadership in the guidance and governance of the nation, particularly the youth, in the science and art of social construction, the management of our personal and national resources, economic development, and nation building. Our political administrators have absolutely no concept of who we are as a people and our potential in the world. Our predicament demands swift, decisive, and sagacious action against this insensitive, disrespectful abuses and dictatorial government. Additionally, Barbados is enmeshed in an existential catastrophe such that the citizenry has a moral obligation to hold the government accountable. I am, however, dismayed at the benign neglect and absence of astute spiritual, moral, and intellectual leadership from the church, the academic community, legal and judicial authority, or a credible alternative political party. Clearly, they have no concept of the role and capacity of spiritual, ethical, and sagacious intellectual leadership in guiding us towards the realization of our human and national potential. Conclusion. Brother and sister Barbadians, our nation is enmeshed in an existential crisis. We are saddled with an international debt of billions of dollars. Our limited land resource, state enterprises, and commercial properties have been sold to foreign nationals, and we are unaware of the subtle recolonization of our nation. Additionally, the integrity of government institutions have been breached and their data stolen. Hostile foreign organizations such as the IMF, World Bank, and the international LGBTQ plus political movement and its corrosive agenda have been given pride of place in our nation and educational system to facilitate the implementation of their destructive agenda into the consciousness of our children. Yet, the government remains insensitive, indifferent, and vehemently hostile to our concerns. The future of Barbados is in mortal danger as the government persists in its disrespectful dictatorial attitude and behavior towards Barbadians. Consequently, Barbados has broken down at destiny's crossroads. We therefore must take swift and decisive action against this government in defense of our dignity, humanity, agency, and sovereignty. We must act. Sadly, too many of us are fearful and politically neutralized. We must not saunter at destiny's crossroads. The galloping catastrophe mandates that we remove this inept, destructive, and demagogic government from office. Our refusal would be the manifestation of our complicity in plunging Barbados into an irreversible catastrophe. For example, during the aftermath of America's annexation of Texas in 1842 and the imminent war with Mexico, the abolitionist James Russell Lovell, in his poem Verses Suggested by the Present Crisis, declared, and I quote, "Once to every man and nation comes the moment to decide. In the strife of truth and falsehood, for the good or evil side. Some great cause God's new Messiah, offering each the bloom or blight, parks the goats upon the left hand and the sheep upon the right. And the choice goes by forever twixt that darkness and that light. Then to the side with truth and falsehood, then to the side with truth is noble, when we share her wretched cross, ere her cause bring fame or profit, then it is the brave man chooses, while the coward stands aside." And let me repeat that for you. Then it is the brave man chooses, while the coward stands aside. Comparatively, Pharaoh Seneferu of ancient Kemet, or what is today Egypt, troubled by an existential threat to his kingdom, sought guidance and comforting words from the teacher priest Neferti. After surveying the devastation of the invading Asiatic peoples, Neferti, the teacher priest, declared, "Be moved, my soul, and mourn for this land in which you were born. For there is silence before evil. What should be condemned is feared, and the great are overthrown in the land of your birth. Tire then, tire not then while this evil exists. Rise up against that which is before you, for lo, the great no longer rule the land, and what was established has now been undone. May Ra begin to re-establish this land, for it is ruined and nothing of value remains. Not even the black of a nail has escaped this fate. Lo, the land is destroyed, and there are none to care for it. There are none who speak, and none who weep. How then fares this land? Saddled with the midnight catastrophe descending upon us, we have no choice but swift and decisive action. Brother and sister Barbadians, be moved with indignation. Rise up against that which is before you, because the great no longer rule this land, and what was established has now been undone. Our nation is destroyed. Must we not act? I plead with you, my brothers and sisters. Rise up. Rise up. Rise up and march in defense of your nation. Come out and join us tomorrow, January 13th at 10 a.m. at the Massy Car Park opposite Kensington Oval for our march for freedom, justice, and the removal of this insensitive, abusive, and undemocratic government. Hotep. Peace.
Oh, wow, wow, wow. Somebody here said it all. What a presentation. Statesman like in delivery and power. Oh, my goodness. Thank you, Nigel. Your presentation can be used as a template for Jamaica, Guyana, wherever. I think um, someone says, blessings, Nigel. Well done. Well said. Uh, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thank you. Duncan,
You're
somebody
welcome.
says,
You're welcome, Marcia.
I'll be marching tomorrow. Very well researched and presented. Thank you, sir. Kamar says, wow, thank you, sir. And
You're,
Nigel would have been down there typing. And this is what we're saying, Mr. Franklin, that the opposition is not just the people on here and the panel, right? It's not just me and the panel or Pastor Ferdy and I, we host sometimes Heather, sometimes Zach. It's not the host and the panelists. It's you guys. It's us. And we really mean that. And it is us. Thank you. I just want to go through some of the comments and what they're saying. Somebody says, I've got goosebumps. Yes.
Well, I got
Right.
gather bumps.
Well done, well done, well done. Yes, we have to put it, we have to separate it out as one thing and send it out. Yes, 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 yes. Oh wow. Somebody says I will listen to it back again. Yes, yes. Are we sharing, guys? I just saw there were not even 100 likes and almost 400 of us on. Between Facebook and thing, we have almost 400 people, and we don't have enough likes. Remember, the likes help us, okay? Ah, yeah. Somebody says I'm with you on this walk. Very well researched. Yes, 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 guys. Somebody write, this gentleman is very powerful. It was excellent. Very well said. And Mr. Franklin, I know you want to jump in there, but I have to say something very quickly. What I want to say is this, I hear people on here say, but if those 30 go, we don't have enough. Who is going to do this? Who is going to do that? Mr. Newton is much my senior. More is my senior. And when I think of him, to know that he could find a platform like this, Mr. Franklin, that he would be able to come to share his thoughts. Because he would tell me sometimes when I come on the program, I leave, I feel depressed for my country. And I would say, Nigel, write, okay? Write it down. Mr. Newton, write it down. That and to see that he has done such, Mr. Franklin, it's not just him, but there are over 280,000 Barbadians out there, and they have something to say. They have a job to do. There is something that they have to do. Just like Mr. Newton tonight, whether you're old or young, doesn't matter the age. Get up and do something. And one thing you can do tomorrow is to put on your clothes and to get down there. And the next thing you can do is to like and share the live. Like and share the live. Take a moment. Like the thumbs up button, hit the thumbs up. Okay? Over to Mr. Franklin.
Marcia, I'm happy that you brought Nigel Newton on tonight, because, people hear us all the time and they think that we are just here talking out of face and just for the love of it. Here we have some person else who is saying much more than I've said, because what I think he has done, he has identified every problem in Barbados when it comes to the politics in Barbados. He has identified all. And what I think Mr. Newton needs to do is to publish that. I don't know if you can get somebody to. It needs to be published. What you wrote tonight, you can tidy it up and publish it in a booklet form or something, because people of Barbados need to have that in their hands. And hopefully a lot of them will read it. Once you get it in their hands, they will read it. Some who are not on this program tonight, who are not watching us, and who will not watch us later on because they're not for whatever reason, they need to see that. They need to hear this. They need to know that and hear for themselves, hear somebody telling them, look for yourselves and see everything that Nigel Newton has said tonight is true. I had my pen out to mark down when I think he made a mistake. Now let me show you the page that I got the mistakes on. All right. He didn't falter everything. I have look, Marcia, this was a presentation I would watch again and again and again, and then another time. He, it isn't Marcia Weeks, it isn't Freddie, it isn't Kimar. It is somebody new, somebody different, and I can assure you, the Nigel Newton that I know will not be influenced by another man. He will speak his mind. You know, so he is not copying me. He's not copying anybody else. This is what he truly believes. Unfortunately, you know, he's identified the problems and he's made some recommendations for changes. But the greatest recommendation we can make for change here in Barbados is integrity of the people who run and seek office, because it's sadly lacking. You know, if these people, those 30 people sit in the house, weren't devoid of integrity, and I'm very serious, devoid of integrity. Do not it's a black hole of integrity when it comes to these people. They would be able to say to Mr. Motley, look, I don't care if you collapse the government after this. I cannot sit down and stomach what you are doing. They talk amongst themselves, and never so often they will tell me something and they will tell somebody something, but they want to hold on for their pension. They want that little pension, you know, and they will kill Jesus again to get that money. You know, that almighty dollar that secures them for the rest of their life, even if it means destroying Barbados. Motley is destructive to Barbados, and they must all see that. If they don't see it, they are blind. And not only blind, and poor blind, I'm not talking about just blind visually, they're blind, but everything else. They cannot see, and they don't, because you know it says, there is none so blind as he who will not see. I'm saying it is none so blind as he who do not want to see. And these people don't want to see. They just want to see that paycheck at the end of the month and their pensions at the end of their tenure. That is all they're interested in, and Barbados is suffering. Nigel, I commend you for your presentation tonight. Nigel, you know me well enough to know that if I found anything wrong with it, I would have told you. And I can, if I go through it again and again, I might be able to find something, you know. But off the cuff, I listened to it on 2 devices. I moved from my post, I had it running on my phone so that I don't miss a word. You know, when I move away from my phone, look, I have it here running again. You know, I didn't miss anything. And you didn't miss anything. You know, you look, I was so glad that it was you saying these things and not me, you know, because people look at, oh, Caswell just to keep a lot of noise all the time. Well, nobody don't hear Nigerian, don't keep a noise all the time. Yeah, you make your comments every so often and stuff, but now the people are hearing you for themselves. And I thank you tonight from the bottom of my heart for what you have done on this show tonight. Because if the people who are sitting and watching you don't respond, something is wrong. Something is, because we are not doing this for entertainment. This is not entertainment. We might laugh ever so often when we get something to laugh at. I laugh at Motley all the time because she is something to laugh at. But I'll give you a joke though. You know, she goes away and she sees all of this security for Biden and president of this place and president of that place. So when she sees this, she come to Barbados and she want implement it for herself. I knew Prime Minister from Barrow. I used to see Barrow walking about the place, no problem. I saw Tom Adams walking about the place, he and Howard Roberts. Nobody else, he told them they're walking all over the place. I saw Owen Arthur in the market, he and Barker and John Williams filling up people vegetables to sell when he want the best. I saw that. Now, Motley goes to estimates. She has the police sweeping the place 2 hours before she gets there, searching for bombs and all kind of stuff up at the Barbados Water Authority building where they're looking for she's making a mockery out of this thing. She wants everybody to, you know, she's a clown. You know, whichever prime minister has been so paranoid. You know, today when I heard that, and I heard people from the Water Authority complaining that they can't find the best apartment because they're holding the estimates up there in the building that the same people cursed and said they haven't building it and all kind of stuff. No, she's minister responsible for Water Authority, and she wants to have her estimates up there. The estimates for the entire government will be up there. But you go up there, people looking for bombs 2 hours before the presentation. You can't walk about the place now as you like when you work, people working at a building up because the prime minister there, you can't go to this business. That kind of nonsense. Like, you know, the president of the United States has a detail for life. After you the office as president, you still have Secret Service. No, she can want the special branch to protect you forever. She goes over there and implements stupidness that she sees from the you know what to the digital ID. She copies everything and brings to Barbados. This woman has to be stopped. She's making this not like a police state now. Next thing you know, that every time when she leaves office and going on the road, you're gonna have to block off the road so that she can drive down. You know, it has reached a point of ridiculous, stupid behavior for a woman who does not exercise a bit of common sense. You know, this look there. This is the Barbados that she's protecting herself from does not exist. You know, it does not exist. But yet still she will walk into a school hall and go in there and talk about these rubbing shoulders and all kind of nonsense. So if she can have barely any security when there's a branch meeting, she goes down there. What is the big thing? You think somebody can try to go up there for her when she can walk down the road and go to a branch meeting? She's a clown. It has to stop. It has to, and the thing is that costs money that we can't afford right now.
Yeah.
Marcy, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to tell this woman.
I tell you, you know, and just listening to what you're saying, and I'm here just reflecting on Nigel's presentation. You know, you see the issue, you see what is going on, you see the problem. It's perplexing for us. And someone said it so clearly tonight that our real issue is governance. Our real issue is governance. That is the problem that we have. I see Kimar is on. I don't know if Kimar, good night, Kimar, if you had any chance to listen to Nigel's presentation. But I don't know if he's ready to speak. But I have a question for Nigel. Read the presentation before we move on to something else. Nigel, you talked about part of your recommendation, you talked about a nationalistic ideology. What do you mean by that? A nationalistic ideology? Can you break that down for us?
Yes, I will do that.
And to state why it is important.
Sorry?
And to state why a nationalistic ideology is important at this time.
It is tremendously important because we as Barbadians, and particularly our political leaders, don't seem to understand that we are a nation in and of ourselves, and that as a people we should have a certain degree of nationalism, feelings about Barbados. This is Barbados. I remember when I was growing up, that's before independence or after independence, I can't remember, but I was growing up.
No, you were growing up before independence.
I mean, I'm referring to the period. Yeah, I know. All right, good. But there was a problem between, I think it was Barbados and either St. Vincent or Grenada. And the premier of that country was very critical of Barbados. And a friend of mine, she was mother to me, she was like my mother. She heard the bad mouthing of Barbados by this particular leader. And she read, what wrong with Barbados? No, this is Barbados. This is Barbados. What wrong with Barbados? No. She was very defensive of Barbados. We have lost that. We have lost that feeling of nationalism and the desire and the urge to protect Barbados. That is why we can. That is why our political leaders can sell the garrison to Arabs, because they have no nationalism, no nationalistic feeling or sentiment. Huh? They can sell the entire coastline of Barbados to foreigners to squeeze us into the center of the island and then give us jobby water. So it is the nationalist feelings, the sentiments, the love and the commitment to Barbados that I mean, that I'm referring to.
Mhm. Yeah, I just wanted you to explain that a little further. We still have a couple. Thank you so much. Very well said. A couple more minutes. Mr. Franklin, any questions for Mr. Newton before he goes? Anybody has any questions for Mr. Newton before he goes?
Just want not to ask a question, but to encourage him. Don't stop. Because I just made a joke say you were growing up before independence, but we need people like you. We need
You
people
need,
like you. Don't stop, because we got you at one end of the spectrum and Kimar at the other end. We can't go wrong.
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Yes.
In
Yes.
fact, in fact, as I referred to in the beginning of my um, presentation, I did inform you that I made a presentation before the Ford Commission on
Yes.
Constitutional Reform in 1997. I still have that document today. I still have it. Okay? And one of the recommendations that I made to that constitution was the removal of Queen Elizabeth as head of state of Barbados. But I did not expect it to be done how it was done recently. Okay? Yeah, but I have been going for a long time. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to
Yes.
give up. I will continue because I have to protect children and grandchildren, friends, everybody.
Yes. Yes. Well, Mr. Newton, thank you
Yes,
so
now.
very much. Thank you so much for taking the time to share with us and to research and to come and to present. And I love how Mr. Franklin says it. You are at two ends of the spectrum. Here you have Mr. Newton, who was growing up before independence, according to Caswell, and Timar, who heard about independence, and
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying about Barbados. And I say it from my heart. I say it from my heart. It's Barbados has some of the most educated people, intelligent people. I'm telling you, and I say that as somebody born in Jamaica, and I mean it from my heart. And I believe that that's why I believe, Mr. Franklin, that once we understand, once we can educate our people, once they understand it, they're going to move. That's what I believe, and that's why I do this show. So I want to thank you, Mr. Newton, for joining us tonight and for the research that you were able to bring to us. Thank you so very much.
it's my pleasure. Thank you. Bye.
Yes, God bless. Bye bye.
Marcia, before we go, I want to address Adrian Hines because he corrected me, and I want to acknowledge it, because there's a integrity, no, sorry, not integrity, Prevention of Corruption Act. It was passed in 2021. I was there, but I never got notified that it was brought into force. So I
Hmm.
was relying on the old one. And he then sent it to me recently to show me that it actually came into force. I wasn't aware that it came into force. So, Adrian, I want to thank you. And also, Santia must be kicking you in the tail, because it shows that she could suffer a lot worse punishment for the behavior that she committed under that act that she passed.
Well, you see, this is
So
what
thank
I'm
you very
saying.
much, Adrian.
And I love that about Mr. Franklin. humility. He can come on and he says, listen, somebody showed me something, somebody taught me something. And humility is key. Humility is key. And so I just want to acknowledge Adrian Hines, who he comes with a lot of very, very good comments like everybody else, and he contributes. And Mr. Newton contributes as well. And see, he was on. So Adrian, you might find yourself on here one of these nights as well. It's not just the people on here, and I will never push that. It is about us, the youngest to the oldest. Don't you ever let anybody think you don't have a purpose. Or, we'd like to treat elderly people like they're nothing. And speak. I was talking to somebody today, Mr. Franklin, and we were talking about the treatment of elderly people, educated people. We have elderly people who have served in this country in their 70s, late 60s. They have something to offer. Why do we think we need to throw them away? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Yeah. So thank you so much again. Someone here is saying that Adrian is very well versed about Bajan politics. I told him he would make a good politician. He says no. Well, he might just be able to educate us a bit, as well as V Hoy. I know who you are. I think I know who you are, and you are also able to do a presentation. And these guys, Mr. Franklin, live in the diaspora, and I want to let them know you have a voice as well, and you have a place to share your thoughts. You can do it right here on the Marcia Week Show. All right. Yes, 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 Beverly. Yes, Beverly. Good night, Kima. How you doing? Any quick words to us? Um, and any
Yeah,
quick words to us before we move to our new we have some guests tonight, Kima. We have guests.
yeah. Well, good night to you, Marcia. Good night to Caswell. Good night to the members of the loyal opposition on such a bright Friday, the day before the march in Bridgetown. So looking forward to seeing everybody tomorrow. Down at Massey Car Park. Um, Nigel Newton. Nigel Newton is a very deep thinker, you know. He I actually read one or two books that mention Nigel Newton's name in it.
Really?
So yeah, and from then I got a thought when I saw his name there. Um, and then we've had conversations at the march, and I know Mr. Newton was involved previously with I think it was the UPP as well, right? So we've had some discussion. I always enjoy his contributions, but what he's saying out there in terms of governance, we really, really, really need a new type of governance in Barbados, one that is honest, one that is transparent, one that is actually functional, one that is informational. A lot of people are going to know, as Mr. Newton said, that Barbados has been recolonized and is being recolonized. He did our prime minister, this prime minister, right? So those things need to be exposed. And like Caswell and probably Nigel and others that enjoyed what independence is, that they could tell stories about going on the garrison where we had independence, right? And now we're going to be selling that to people because of late horse racing, right? Is a disgrace. Look, we had a republic, Marcia, and we had us on lockdown,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then they specially invited who they wanted to invite to the republic. Is supposed to be a monumental occasion, right? That the whole island should be. And you put this republic thing in the middle of a pandemic, right? And then you invited who you wanted to invite. You still even invited the same prince and these people that you broke away from. So you cared nothing about us,
Oh,
right?
okay, Mar, I don't mean to cut you, but they didn't invite me, and it was a senator. I complained
We're
about
not
it,
hearing
and
you well. We're not hearing you well. It's too low.
I said they didn't invite me. I was a senator. I wasn't invited. I complained, and then I got a letter from the cabinet secretary apologizing for the omission. They didn't invite me, so I, I asked them to invite me, and it was part of the government structure. I was a member of the Senate, I ain't getting invited. So
right? And and that is a disgrace, right? So to rob me, a person who was not born anywhere near independence, I was born in the time of the Republic. I wasn't even able to enjoy it. So the same way people could speak about Errol Barrow being the father of independence, never, ever, 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 ever would I tell anybody, anybody's children, grandchildren, great grands, if they plan to live that long, that Mia Motley is the mother of any republic or the leader of any Republican country because look what
or,
they did to us.
or the mother of anything other than chinks.
Right? It will never happen. It will never, and even if I have to lead a whole tirade around this country, I will never sit and allow the Barbados, future Barbados that have to be paying back all of this IMF debt to believe that they did anything good for this country when they took us to a republic in the middle of a pandemic. I never had the decency to invite the whole island, right? So where my life, but again, Nigel, very good contribution. I want to encourage you. I want to see you at the march again tomorrow, Nigel. I know you're definitely firm soldiers that we have on this loyal opposition team.
Yes, 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 yes. And Kimar, I just want to commend you on your relaunch of Alternate Views. And Kimar so graciously gave us so much of his time to this country over the last 6 months. And so last night we were there with him. I wasn't on because it's not my area, but I was still trying to send some questions through. But we want to commend you and we want to support you. I was glad to see that you had a good support, and I know that it's going to build. And it's on Thursdays that we talk about the economy with alternate views. He has his book, and we ask you to support the book, please. Alternate Views book. And Timar, we love you and we support you, and we are going to stand behind you. And if I can't get there when the classes or my class finish, I will log on. At least I know Dave will be there on my behalf. But we want to support you all the way, okay? All the way. God bless you.
Yeah,
Well,
well, so I was just saying thank you, thank
okay.
you for that. I appreciate it. It was a good show. I mean, I would have liked for you to be present. That you could have asked some questions directly to Professor Robinson. But nevertheless, I am glad for the support from both you. Give so every Thursday. But over to you.
but
No, what are your thoughts
let
on
me
this?
just let me say to you, Kimara, I devote Tuesdays and Thursdays to my Zoom meetings with my members, so I couldn't make it yesterday, because I use them to keep in contact because I since COVID I don't have these big meetings or anything like that anymore. I used to have meetings and I would rent auditorium and all kind of stuff, but now I have a Zoom account and I use that instead. So yesterday was pre-planned, and Tuesday coming is also rearranged. So I'm sorry I didn't make it, but I will go on and I will listen to it after.
Well, I should say to you, Mr. Franklin, that your contributions on the show is causing a bit of a stir.
Oh,
So much, so much so now that your contributions are causing consults in other places. People say you should be more like Caswell, more clinical, more thorough in contribution. Minister,
All right.
so,
We will.
uh,
All
over to you.
right. Caswell. Caswell.
I'm flattered. I'm flattered.
Caswell.
I'm flattered.
Caswell. Mm, mm.
I'm
I
flattered.
am being a school teacher now today. I'm Miss Carpet. Mm. Okay. All right. So we tonight we have with us Mr. Paul Gibson, and he's married to a wonderful Jamaican lady, Jamaican Bajan lady like myself. He's had over 24 years experience in the areas of management of pharmacies or pharmaceuticals, marketing, sales, and general management. He's a qualified pharmacist and he was trained at the University of Technology and the Barbados Community College. In fact, he told me that he's been practicing pharmacy for over 30 years. And the reason I wanted to introduce him like this is because I know you know that he is with a particular political party. But when when we asked Paul Gibson to come to us tonight, we are not asking him to speak on behalf of his party. And I said that to him when I contacted him. I reminded him tonight, don't mind me wearing a yellow shirt, but look at me, I'm wearing a red shirt. Remember, we don't line up behind colors anymore, guys. Yeah? We don't line up behind colors. Yeah? So, Paul, Mr. Gibson is here and he is a professional. And so I've asked him to come on to speak to us about the condition of the QEH hospital. And Mr. Franklin, it's I consider it an honor for Paul being here with us tonight. And Mr. Gibson, I want to ask you.
Look, before you go, Marcy, I Paul, welcome. I consider you consider him whatever is not going to. I consider Paul as a friend. Paul is a friend of mine.
Why are you sounding low to me? Is it me or everybody hearing? Probably it's my ears. I don't know.
I don't know.
Thank you very much.
Paul is a friend of mine, and I was going to pull his legs and say that he was into drugs for 20-somebody years, and the other people who are into drugs, Mel likes them.
Medicines.
But you're
medicine man. Yes.
Hi, Paul. It's good. It's really good to see you.
It's wonderful to be on the show, to be among friends. I'm so happy to have been invited to speak about, all matters health, because, for many, many years, as Marcia shared, I've been involved in the health space. And it's an area that I'm comfortable with, I'm passionate about, and I believe that there must always be a voice be representing what is happening in health with the objective of enhancing, promoting, and elevating the health of Barbadians. And that's what I'm all about. That's all I live for. And I'm very, very encouraged to be here among my friends. Kemar is a very good friend of mine. Marcia, we were on the board of a particular organization together doing that Praise Academy. Some of the greatest years of my life. My children spent a lot of time there. And as well, I've sat at your feet learning and working together with you towards the benefits of Barbados, and this is something that I'm proud of, and I celebrate you, all three of you. Thank you.
Yes. Wonderful. Mr. Gibson, I'm getting so many. The reason I asked you to come on is because, and I've been sending you and asking you questions because I really want to know the truth. I didn't want to come on here and I'm saying things that's not true. And I reached out to you. You know me. I know you. I know you're somebody that's truthful. And I said, tell me, is it true that there is overcrowding at the hospital? I'm hearing about the overcrowding. I'm hearing about even just a lack of resources, not enough sheets on the beds there and so on. Can you talk to us about what is happening presently at our hospital here in Barbados?
Okay, well, we have an institution that was originally structured to have a 600-bed hospital to take care of the tertiary issues or tertiary healthcare of Barbadians. And when that was designed and developed, we at that same time had a polyclinic system, poly meaning many clinics, and they were strategically located across Barbados. And we are familiar with where those polyclinics are. Over the years, something has happened to Barbados. What has happened is that where we as kids would go and get vaccinated at the polyclinic at Emor or Sir Winston Scott, get our teeth fixed, have our bones x-rayed, or get our medication and so on, we are finding that the primary care structure that has been put in place to manage healthcare in Barbados
Yeah.
is falling apart. It is falling apart. And the question is, why is it falling apart? Because that's the important question. There was a time when we would have our children or a particular medicine, have old people go and check the pressure and so on. But what's happening is that with the advent of what's happening is that we're having a situation where the population has increased and the number of doctors at the polyclinics, as well as the number of nurses at the polyclinics, has been dwindling. And they have actually cut back the number of people that they can see at the polyclinic level, which is the primary care level. Marcia, this results in something happening, which is normally people have to wait sometimes 48 hours or more at a polyclinic to even come back the following day. That never used to happen before. We had a situation where there were established dressing clinics at the polyclinics where a granny or old boy or a little child can go back and get their dressing changed, so that toe that was becoming gangrenous, or that injury, as we say, a nail juk in Barbados, or a cut, a laceration, could be very effectively managed at a polyclinic level. And what that did was sustain the movement of diseases and pathology to the tertiary level, which is a QEH. What is happening now is because persons are unable to get that quick attention, because diabetics are not able to be seen in a timely fashion, because people's pressures cannot be followed up and checked as it was in the past. We have a situation where the diseases are compounding. They are compounding because a laceration that would normally be able to be dressed effectively by a polyclinic, because they don't have enough nurses in the public health sector, because they don't have enough nurses at the polyclinic, and the nurses work hard. Nurses work hard. They're stretched. They're out to full capacity, and so sometimes, and even the doctors, they're not a lot of doctors seeing as many patients. When you had doctors like the guy from St. George that would see 60 patients and so on, those days are no longer here, where they would work until the clinic is empty. You know, people are being told come back tomorrow. So that toe would become infected, and then it would get pustulous and would need further secondary medical care, and then further tertiary medical care. So they end up then at the QEH. If you look at the corridor outside the pharmacy nowadays, there are lines of persons waiting to have just a basic dressing done on their foot post-surgically before you could have referred those to a polyclinic setting, right? So the issue of overcrowding is multifactorial. I want to then go now to well, before we go any further, that's the one of the fundamental issues: a broken primary healthcare system. That is one of the
So
fundamental
let's get that registered. So the primary healthcare system is basically broken. Wow.
It is broken.
Yes. That it makes sense. What you're saying makes sense. Continue, please. Continue.
Right. So things like blood pressures, yes. So you're not having persons catching their blood pressures early. You're not having people catching their diabetes early. You're not having persons with things like lupus and so on. People not being caught in the net that prevents the tertiary healthcare situation from occurring in Barbados. So we end up now at the accident emergency department, where things have become so compounded. The diabetes is so complicated now. The pathologies associated with that are compounded, and they ended up having a crowding at the A&E department, the accident emergency department. Now, I should mention here that before the expansion of the A&E department, the entrance of the A&E department was this wide. They would receive this many patients, and they would all have to exit the A&E department through a space that allows them to go into the hospital and be taken care of. Since the Barbados Labour Party came to power, they have expanded the accident emergency department's mouth to receive more patients. But you see that exit door that leads you out of the A&E department? Unfortunately, Marcia and Caswell and Kimar, it has remained the same space. So that you have a situation where there's an overloading. You would have had a 3-hour or 12-hour stay in the A&E department. Now it is 40 hours plus, and that's depending on the level of the pathology and disease that is happening at the time. What is not good right now is that we are having a boosting of flu, we're having a boosting of dengue, we're having other further outbreaks of COVID occurring, and that's all descending and crushing our healthcare system. So our doctors are out to their maximum. Our nurses are burnt out. And what is happening, and this is very sad, unfortunately, the laws of diminishing returns are occurring. Because if you have a nurse or a doctor or orderly or a x-ray technician or whatever that is working double shifts and triple shifts, what ends up happening is that they become burnout. They say, look, I need a mental health day. I need to have a break. I need to rest. My body's telling me I need to rest. But there's nobody to come and support and to bring that backative and support to those hard working medical practitioners and people. Pharmacists are running red, the nurses are running red, and the system is really at a boiling point where it is really under tremendous pressure. And there are solutions that can be had, but it calls for a strong political will. It calls for a dedication, and it's not just about throwing money behind it anymore. It's about systematically looking at what needs to be fixed and dealing with it.
Yeah. Someone, because we want to paint the picture so that everybody understands. Those who are in the diaspora, I really, I mean, this is frightening, because once your healthcare system starts to collapse, that society is definitely collapsing. I mean, or I don't even want to get sick. I'm like, oh my goodness. But listen, talk to us about discharge planning. How is that? How is that?
Yes.
That whole setup. Someone VOI
Sure.
wrote asked a question.
Yes, there are protocols that are followed. I think we use the Canadian model of I don't want to use the big words, but we use a Canadian model of tracking patients. Right? If a patient can't breathe or is bleeding, if a person is pregnant, there's certain things that when they come into the A&E, they will be treated first. If you can't breathe, it means you don't get any oxygen into your lungs. It means that you really will probably die. If you're bleeding out, it means that you don't have any oxygen, any blood to circulate your oxygen and so on. So that could possibly lead to death. So there's certain things that when they come in the A&E, they are treated with the utmost priority. Your heart, your asthma, breathing, blockage of the airways, and so on. There's a particular triage system that is put in place. So when you understand how that works, then you realize that then you have 12 hours, you have 1 hour. So you're seeing with immediacy, 1 hour, 12 hours, and so on, and it goes on and on. So if you come in there because you stepped on a nail, ideally you should be at a polyclinic.
Right.
If you're cooking in the kitchen and you get a small laceration or a small burn in your hand, you should be at in a polyclinic environment, so that those big boys, those big heavy boys, those big strokes, and those heart attacks and so on, people that are going into comas and so on could be focused on in that tertiary. And tertiary means is the highest level of care that you would need, whereas primary is for those basic things. It's at primary, you go to primary school, you go to secondary school, you go to tertiary, you go to high school. It's in the healthcare system, it's pretty much the same. You do primary at primary level, You do tertiary at tertiary level. You don't put a primary school child in the university right away unless they're tremendously brilliant. And we know there are many like that. So it is important that you know when to go to the QEH. It's important to know why to go to the QEH and when to go to a polyclinic. Or go see your private physician. It costs you a little more, but we all pay taxes and would want to utilize those facilities. And the reality is, a lot of Barbadians do not have as much disposable income to go to their private doctors as they would before. So we're having a collage of things happening all at the same time. Low funds, high throughput traffic in the AD department, exhausted doctors, exhausted nurses, and you mentioned the matter of bedboard management or throughput. When a person is triaged and seen at the hospital, there is usually then the other tier where they, if necessary, they're transferred to a ward. In order for them to be transferred to a ward, there needs to be a bed. In order for there to be a bed needs to be emptied, stripped, clean, and then that person is brought up to the ward. So that's called bedboard management. It's actually a specialty. But the issue is that they're limited. It's a 600 bed hospital, so you can be assured that there will not always be beds available, which means that you have to be stuck in the A&E department waiting for a bed to clear. Because as I said, the space that is there is still the same size, even though the A&E has a bigger mouth and can receive more people. The exit out of A&E remains the same, pretty much.
Wow. I'm
Yes.
listening to this, Mr. Franklin. You have a question, Mr. Franklin? Wait, you're muted.
Now he mentioned something that bothers me every time I hear it. The people in A&E, they can't get upstairs to a ward because somebody who is well is still occupying it. And a lot of people misunderstand why that is happening. And I can tell you why it's happening. When I was a young boy, in the 60s, I think, too, before independence and a little after, we had a system where almost every parish had an arms house. We call them district hospitals now, but it was the arms house, meaning the people who were arms, poor people used to go there. So when you were in your community and you could not take care of yourself anymore, you used to go down to your family would take you down to the house, and the matron would admit you.
That's right.
They started to consolidate, close some of the arms houses, close some of the district hospitals. So now, those people who would have been taking care of their parents or grandparents, and they would take them down to the arms house, they're going to go to work. So and there's no arms house to take them to. So they got to work. So they can't leave them home because next the old people burn down the house.
Wow.
Or do something otherwise, because sometimes they have dementia. So when you take them to the hospital and they're being cared for, you don't come back for them. Because when you come back home, where are you going to keep them? And government is so myopic, rather than have the hospitals in, I just want you to comment on this, and the hospitals in the communities where people live, and the fellows will come and get them a look up and stuff. No, you build a large place like the one down in the water table, down in Waterford. You can put hundreds of old people inside there who will not see their grandchildren because the grandchildren can't get up there for the evening after school or come and look for them. And rather than keep them in their communities. So the government does not know what it is doing, or it is deliberately trying to kill those old people. It's one or the other.
Wow.
Yeah. And because when you have these old people, and they see the grandchildren come and look for them, they boost the spirits.
Absolutely.
You're there in an old people's home. You see a lot of old people around you, and the nurses overwork because sometimes you don't have enough nurses to take care of all of them, and they don't get the kind of care. But if they were in a smaller setting, there would not be so many of them to deal with, and there's so many, and you wouldn't need so many nurses. But unfortunately, government trying to save money against the people who build this place, and they're going to try to shame people who can't do better, because you can't start off and work to take care of your grandmother or your mother, and you don't have the resources to send it to one of those $3,000, $4,000 a month or people's homes that the government
That's
is
right.
pushing.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks, Mr. Franklin, and which lends in there's this question here, which I think, because what at the end of the day, guys, I'm listening to this, Paul, before I get to this question, Mr. Franklin, and my mind is going towards solution. I believe that the solution is in us. We have the solution in Barbados. If we could just approach this not from a party standpoint, then you understand? Finding a solution, because one day we're gonna get old, we're gonna probably get sick, we're gonna all kinds of things. We don't know. So can we
Yes.
put our minds on our this is one issue, at least one issue. Can we do it in a non-partisan way? By the way, this
Yes.
question is asking, do
Yeah.
we have aides in Barbados or LPNs to assist the nurses?
Yes.
Yes, we do. We do. Again, they are stretched to the maximum. And I just want to double back on Caswell points to talking about nursing aides and so on. I was saying that Barbados has one of the highest aging populations in the Caribbean. We are long livers. We're now trying to get younger people to come and to propagate, to have more children and so on. But the reality is that our elderly are here, our elderly are present. It really concerns me that there's a big structure just outside Parliament that went up in very quick order, costing millions of dollars. There was the National Insurance building that was there that was knocked down, and in one they built a golden what's it called, golden park, golden something park, golden square. Now I am all for art, right? My children are art, and I love art, Marcia. But when you have such an aging population, your priority must be those old Bajans that built Barbados, that gave the best years of their life to building this country, man. They must be given priority, and to have the park and this big circle and the Heroes Park and so on, that has its place. However, the priority must be on our people, right? Where you have adequate rooms and places for elderly people who give the best of themselves to Barbados to be housed, nurtured, and taken care of. And I'm saying that it is something that we have to be very mindful of. And when we are borrowing as much money as we are borrowing and doing as much as we're doing, we must put the money where it matters, where it is important. And this is something I just want to share, that I think that we need to make sure that with all of the different things that are happening, we have to make sure that we take care of the elderly. And I agree completely with Caswell in what he said. In terms of solutions, of course, the reality is that we have to plan. It doesn't just happen. We have to plan for good health. You have to look. I have a point here about nurses. I know Caswell is one of their pet peeves. Nurses are overworked. They're overburdened. There are not enough of them, and the rate at which nurses are being qualified, they're leaving almost twice as fast. When you have a nurse that has 10 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years of experience, that's about 4 nurses. And for every time one of those nurses go, and I'm observing that most of our best nurses, some of our best nurses are being offered positions in hospitals in the UK and the US and the US. I have to plug my phone in. But I want to say that planning for growth and nursing and so on is very, very important. And it's something that I believe I don't think enough attention is being paid to that. And so you have to decompress the hospital by supplying more warm bodies, more nurses, more doctors, more staffing to carry this heavy load that the medical practitioners and the medical staff are going through it at the moment. That's
Yeah.
one of the solutions. Let me just plug
Yeah.
my phone in just because it's getting dark.
Yeah,
1 second.
yeah. Just go ahead, and Paul, and plug your phone in. But this let me just look at some of what is being said here. People are making all kinds of suggestions, Mister. When you read this chat, I wish we could save this chat. There are just so many suggestions and questions that people have about the situation. I'm asking everybody to share. The reason we wanted to share the live, there are 527 of you, and I'm hearing that almost 530, and I'm hearing that only 100 and something of you like the show. It's the thumbs up. Click the thumbs up because that will help the algorithm, right? And then people can find us. So we need you to do that, please. Please just take a moment and do that. And I want to say, Mr. Franklin, and I mean it from my heart that, you know, um, this the issue with the hospital. It's not just a BLP issue. It's an issue that has been with us for a long time. Now, I mean, right now it is kind of, it has reached rock bottom. It's the worst we've seen it, but let's not try to put all the blame on the BLP. But it has been a problem that we have had, and therefore, I believe that this is one issue. I mean, we see the government. What the government did was to try to bring in some nurses from Ghana. And I mean, it tells you that they knew something was wrong and they were trying to fix it. So let's at least give that to them, right? Yeah.
No, it's not, Marcy. I wouldn't give it to them at all. I can tell you why. They bought nurses from Ghana. They bought nurses from Nigeria. They bought nurses from Guyana. They bought nurses from St. Vincent. They bought nurses from India
Philippines.
and the Philippines. A lot of those people cannot even speak English. Bought some from Cuba. The problem is not bringing in people, but retaining ours. And the life is so difficult for some nurses. You remember we had a nurse who spoke, and she said, I can't remember if it was one of the show. She said things were so wrong for her that when a patient died in the ward, she did not report the death so she could get something to eat. It was that bad. So the kitchen was still sending that patient food, so she would not let the kitchen know that patient had died, so she could get lunch or dinner or whatever it was. That is how bad it has become for nurses in Barbados. They are being poorly paid, and right now, when we were on strike, and some nurses said we are not going back under those conditions. I don't care what Mayor Motley says. We would rather leave, and some of them, and lots of them left.
I'm leaving. I'm not leaving.
I'm leaving. One nurse in particular, she was here suffering, earning $3,000 and somebody dollars a month. 3,000 Barbados. And things were bad for her. And she said, and I made contact with a friend of mine who was a nursing recruiter in New York, contacted me and asked if I could if some nurses wanted to get jobs up there because she wants to get some nurses. I didn't want to do it, but I didn't want to hide the information from them either. So I put it in the chat. In the chat I have with the nurses in Unity. And when the ladies left, and she brought back to me and she thanked me for putting her in contact. And she said now she is making 98,000 US a year.
US, yes, that's right. That's about right.
98,000 US dollars a year. But government is paying you just over $3,000. Now, what do you expect? You see, that is the problem. So they can bring people in on the cheap rather than, and let me tell you something before I get there. When these people, even the Ghanaian nurses and the Nigerian nurses, they won't only come to Barbados so they can have Barbados on their curriculum vitae. From the time the people out there see Barbados, they say, oh, Barbados nurses are well trained. They don't even think that those nurses don't train in Barbados. And bam, they're gone. So a lot of these people transition through Barbados. The nurses that they bring in from Ghana, a lot of them gone to the States and Canada already. So the government is trying to play cheap and endanger the people's lives. I took my mother to the hospital a day or so before she died, and I can't find a Belgian nurse. And mind you, the Cuban nurse came to me. She didn't know much not English, and I only know how to say arroz con pollo when I go to the restaurant looking for rice and chicken. And I can't talk to the nurse, and they can't. I had to make signs. But they brought in Cuban nurses. Mind you, they brought in Cuban nurses that weren't qualified to work in Barbados, but me signed an order giving them the right to work in Barbados.
Yes, that's
And
right.
at the same time, she did not sign an order to give local nurses, people who were trained, but for some one reason or the other did not pass the regional exam, the exam that would allow you to work in Dominica, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Grenada, all over the place, because
Correct.
they did not have a syllabus for the people to study. They just
That's
give them
right.
an exam. So a lot of Belgian nurses did not pass it. Well,
Yeah, they only know getting syllabus, but before they were
they
in the
got the
job.
syllabus because I got on bad in the Senate about it, and then
Oh,
they
that's what.
put the
Okay.
syllabus in place
Yes.
for the nurses.
Yes. Yes.
So we have a lot of nurses who passed community college with good grades, but because they
Yes.
didn't pass an exam and
The
you test
regional.
about your regional exam, they test you about things in Dominica and St. Lucia and talk about river water and all kind of nonsense that the Belgian nurses have no knowledge of, and they failed them. But the nursing profession in Barbados, the people who run the exam, because they won't find work for themselves when they leave, when they retire, the nursing council, they are the biggest threat to nurses in Barbados. They try to stop them from, and the government allowing that to happen and unfairing our nurses, and then nurses go overseas and get big jobs.
And that's why they're leaving. But let me ask you, thanks Mr. Franklin. Let me ask you something. Let's talk about leadership, because I know we don't have the whole night. This seems like it's a series, and not of I don't want it to be a series of where we're political I don't know, bashing or anything. We really need to seriously try to figure out what is going on. Now, listen, I want to ask you something. What about the CEO or the executive director? What is there one? Who is that person? Is there an official title for that person? Who is the
There's
person?
there's someone acting in the post at the moment as a COO, a chief operating officer, and she assumes the responsibility as a CEO acting at the moment.
Okay, you were saying something, Mr. Franklin?
No, I was trying to find out who because they were saying that they're going to change the law. No, again,
change it back.
Get rid of the CEO to change it back to where it was before, because they realized that what they did was wrong. But they knew it was wrong from the beginning, but they wanted to find a job for their people, And you put a person who's trained in at Uwollen Law School to run a hospital. And that was the problem. You see, so this government does not really care about Barbados and Barbadians. They're looking to find jobs for their friends. And they actually went to Parliament and changed the law to make sure when they job their friends get a job. That is as bad as it gets. Just now you said that you don't that has been a problem through all administrations. Yes, but this is the worst it has ever been. And then even now with they constructed a CIV and call it the Accident Emergency Department.
Yeah.
But listen, what about because you have to, when something like this is happening, you have to you have to look at leadership. You really have to take a look at leadership.
Let me comment on that. Let me comment on that. There are two studies were done that I am aware of. One was done by a Miami-based company, and there was another one done by North Shore. They came in, they went to, at 33,000 feet, looked down at the QEH, and both of them have what was called level 6 nurses came in and assessed the QEH. They had that data in hand to make the adjustments and the tweaks and so on. Another one was done last year and it was paid for, right? And so all of the solutions and fixes that are needed in the QH are in the study. They're there. So to ask for solutions is the right way to go. But when you're holding the solutions in a document that has documented all of the breaches, all of where the support is needed, the training is needed, and so on, then that comes down, as you said, Marcia, to leadership. It's about execution.
Yes.
And when we're dealing with the medical fraternity and so on, is a very complicated group of people. Let me put it that way. Um, there's a very large egos in the space. There's some very large egos, and sometimes people hold on to things, and some people are willing to let go of some of their power or their authority or whatever, but others are not. But there's something called categorical imperative, the best for the majority. And anyone fixing the QEH must use that approach to reciting a lot of the issues. There must be the political will and the will to execute. But most importantly, there must be courage, because it takes tremendous courage to fix the QEH.
Yeah.
And courage, and when I say courage, you come up against matters of insecurities. You have the courage to go against insecurities. You have to have the courage to go against bad attitudes. You can improve the services at QH by changing attitude. Even if you just change it to 10%, you will see an exponential increase in the quality of care and the outputs coming out of that institution. Because there are some good people, but they need to be supported, and there need to be that attitude of professionalism and of understanding the big picture of overarching healthcare. All right. I'll Catherine, you want to say something, but I'll continue after.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Yeah. So the courage, the need for courage, is important in addressing and wrestling the issues that we see at QEH down to the ground. There's some hard decisions you have to be made, right? Whether it's about bed board management, increasing the number of beds available, putting a new building outside of the pharmacy and going up 3 floors. Whether it's about we last week, nursing practitioners were voted the #1 profession in the United States of America. Took over from pharmacy, but that's okay. But they are the very, very highly paid, in terms of very highly paid, and they're recognized. If you introduce nursing practitioners into our system in Barbados, it will certainly decompress the pressure that you have in the QEH, right? It will certainly, but you have to be willing, you must be willing to pay those nurses, the value of being a nurse practitioner.
So it seems to me what you're saying is that this needs to be priority. This needs to become priority. That
if you're serious,
if we're serious, we need to make sure that there's a what is it? Where is the Minister of Health at this time? Because we're talking about leadership, and it has to come from the head. It's the same way we talk about the MIA, missing in action Prime Minister. Where is the Minister of Health? Paul, do you know anything about that?
Could you ask me that again, please? Where is the
Minister of Health? We are not hearing anything. I have not heard anything in the most recent times from him. But we're talking about leadership.
No, but recently he had a problem with his arm. It spread to his mouth because he is not talking. I know he couldn't use his arm very well. He had surgery on his shoulder.
Can you come a little closer to the mic? Any closer?
If I come closer, I'll kiss it.
Okay.
No, I said recently the Minister of Health had an issue with his arm.
Yes, he wasn't well.
It seems as though that the injury has spread to his mouth because he is not now speaking either. Because you don't need an arm to speak.
Have we ever had 2 ministers of health in Barbados before? Caswell, do you remember? 2 ministers of health.
Not that I can think of, but the problem is that there's no such thing in our law.
Yes, correct.
But the Prime Minister does what she wants to do, and nobody wants to tell her that she's wrong. Even though some people, why are they going to tell her they're wrong? They're going to get minister pay, And that's what it is a crisis of integrity in this country. Nothing more,
Right.
nothing less. Because these people would do the wrong thing because they're gonna get money. That's as simple as it
Yes.
is.
I'll say this. I'll say this as well. The challenges that are being faced are up and down the length and breadth of the QEH. We can go into any department and find the issue. Now, I want to first of all compliment the AKU department, the artificial kidney unit department. Those nurses work extremely hard, and many days you have a situation where they're just so overworked that a nurse drop out here and it backs up the care and so on. But those nurses are committed, and I want to celebrate them tonight. I also want to celebrate some. I have a lot of respect for the laundry department of the QEH. Now, nurses get hazard allowance, doctors get a hazard allowance, and the laundry department of the QEH, the laundry department, are not getting a hazard allowance. Now, Marcia, let me share something with you. Those persons come to work every day. They work in vomitus, spittle, blood, their fetuses wrapped up in the sheets. There is stool. There are needles, and many times they get stuck with them. They get stuck, and every day they faithfully commit to fixing, washing those sheets, getting rid of the blood, sorting those things, getting stuck, and they are not getting a hazard allowance.
Right.
I'm saying that we have to not only we have to take care of the staff of the QEH in a very serious way. And as one thing I must do tonight, I'm just calling on someone to. It's not a large group of people, but
Mhm.
significant consideration should be given to that targeted group of persons to ensure that they have hazard allowance because they need it. It's not that they want it, not that they need extra money. They are working in a hazard. As a fetus wrapped up in a sheet, blood, needles, lancets are left in there. They get cut. They're dealing with blood and hepatitis B, HIV, all the COVID, you name it, and hepatitis B. It is real. And so I'm saying that from top to bottom of the QH, there needs to be a revamp. They need to dust those plans off that they got from the North Shore University, sorry, and and study them. But they
Yes.
must have the political will and the courage to implement. It's going to be a little painful, but that's okay. But it will give us the results that we need for years to come in terms of building our healthcare system back to where it was back in the day with Ramses Cattle
But
and
that's
the
what
others.
leadership is. That's what leadership.
Leadership is
You're leading. You're gonna
influence.
have to make those hard decisions.
That's right.
When there's a gentleman here, I don't know if you guys, casual, you saw it, Mr. Wendell. He said that um, that he that he presented some kind of plan. I missed the thing. If Wendell, I would love for you to message me, but he was saying that he presented some solutions to the QAH and that it was rejected. He lives,
Wow.
this is a Wendell Greenwich who lives overseas. He's in the diaspora,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I think, Mr. Franklin, that we could work with the diaspora on coming up with a solution. Somebody here is asking, what about a 5-year plan? I listen, as a Bajan, I can tell you this. I believe in Barbadians. I believe in the intellect of Barbadians,
Yes.
Paul. I just believe that if you should have heard Nigel earlier, Mr. Newton earlier, is one of those in our elderly population.
Yes. Very
You know,
brilliant mind. Brilliant
his
mind.
mind is still there and always presenting himself. And we look at the presentation on this program every night, Caswell and Kimar and I mean, it is just stellar. I believe we have the answers. And if
Absolutely.
we for a moment can stop, because don't we know, okay, we know the issues are there, we know it's happening under this government, but the truth of the matter is, and that it's happening is worse than the others. But the point is that it didn't start here, right? And it's not
Correct.
about government. This is our health. No.
That's
Come on.
right. That's right. You see,
So
health is not political. Health is real. I keep telling people all the time.
that's what I'm saying.
Anytime
That's
we
what
speak
I'm
about
saying.
health, health is not political. And for me, is I get very passionate about it. I love the area. I love taking care of the elderly, the pediatrics, people that are not well. Because the reality is that health is wealth. I value health more today than I have when I was much younger. I'm sorry, but I really value health, and it's something that I'm every time for this 2024. I'm saying I wish you health and prosperity. Health as the priority. The reason why we spend the third highest amount of money from a budget on health is because it is so important. It is one of the three pillars. Now, one of the three pillars that the country always stood on. Yeah, health and education. And we
Yes.
must make sure that we do not continue to erode away the gains and the successes that we've had over the years. I know that it must have been very hard for Sonia Brown. I tell you that. I don't know. I mean, it must have been hard. She's a tough cookie. So I don't know what happened there, but I'll tell you something. It's a tough environment. You have to be willing to have the courage to push through and to make it happen and to get the buy-in from the stakeholders in that environment to execute and make sure that everybody is measured. There needs to be measurement to make sure that you're making gains. 5%, 10%, but there must be measurement as well included in the process.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I am someone here, Andrea Critchlow. She's saying, when did they start giving nurses hazard allowance? Because when I worked with the mentally and physically challenged, we had some very aggressive patients that hurt staff, and we never received that allowance. And I worked 11 years in that area, so it's part of what you are saying.
Yes, yes.
Listen,
Even through COVID, they never even received anything. Even through COVID, the laundry
yeah.
department never received the hazard allowance.
And Mr. Franklin talks about these kinds of things all the time, all the time. We're not making it priority, and I'm
No,
I'm saying, Mr. Franklin, I'm all about trying to find that solution, and I know that you can't find it in an hour on the show, but
no,
I believe we have enough smart people out there that we can
indeed.
say to them, people in the diaspora as well who would have had a different experience, because sometimes traveling can help, that we can
Yes.
come together and put our minds together and come up with us with some solutions. Go ahead, Mr. Franklin.
We have enough smart people in Barbados to do almost everything that we want to do.
Correct.
The problem here is we are too tribalistic and too um, politically blind and stupid. I tell you, I have represented more Dems between now since this administration has been in place than I represented between two um 2010 when unity was started, because now they find every opportunity to take out the Dems. So if a Dem is well placed and well qualified to do a job, he can't get it, or he can't retain it because he's not a B. And until we stop this nonsense and decide that the best man for the job, they would rather go overseas and find somebody to give them a job and come here and mess up than employ them.
Yes.
And that is the problem we have in Barbados, because and it was never so before until Motley's came.
Wow.
It was never that way. You had the one-off situation where people happen, but no, it is wholesale. And she is trying to divide us into two camps. And as a result, Barbados is the worst for it. And
I agree.
well, listen to Nigel. I don't just listen to me. Listen to Nigel tonight. He has identified all of these problems. Unfortunately, people now start seeing themselves as B's and D's. No, we were Barbadians all along. We only became B's and D's during the campaigns. And then when the campaigns finished,
Right.
we were back together.
That's right.
And
You put it aside. Yeah, that's right.
but no, Motley is fueling that nonsense. And and the thing is, it's for their benefit.
I'll say I'll say, Caswell, one of the sad things about that is happening as well that I'm picking up. Barbados have just thrown their hands up and say, "I done. I not gonna vote for nobody anymore. I not gonna do that." Now, I the reality is this: when you do not vote, you are actually voting.
Yes.
When you do not vote, you are saying, I want to remain with what I have. And for God's sake, Barbadians need to put that away and say, I have a God-given vote. If it is any time I need to wake up and brush off my vote and bring it to the thing, is now. More so now than ever. Do not stay home. It is not the time for that. You could have paid your bills, you could have paid your mortgage, pay a car loan, feed your children, and so on. Something is happening that we don't quite understand, right? Some people will say it's caused, but no, it is happening. It's a reality. We pay 34 more taxes than we get. The reality is you have to dust that vote out, change that mindset, and put your X where it needs to be, because Barbadians need opposition. Barbadians need somebody to speak out. And the reason why I'm here on this show tonight is because I'm seeing this show being the voice of many Barbadians, and they're beginning to listen, and they're getting the attention. I mean, I see the large swath of people that watch this go around because they feel as if their issues are being represented. And I celebrate what you're doing, and anyone that's for Barbados, I am with them. Anyone that is about pushing Barbados forward and advancing, or children, or elderly, or young people, that is where you will find Paul Gibson. And we have a purpose, a role, and a responsibility to keep Barbados lifted high. And that's my closing shot for tonight, because at the end of the day, it's all about us Barbadians. We cannot drop the ball. No, not no. I'll just say one last thing. The Democratic Labour Party, as a party that brought us into independence, brought about the NIS, education, BCC, University of West Indies, school meals, and I could go on. The Best of Santos Lab. I could go on and on and on. And because it was about the Fabian socialist approach to governance, which is where we took care of the average person slowly and brought equity and justice into Barbados, creating the largest middle class it ever was under Elbar. Upper middle, and lower middle. And the reality is this: at this
Creating the
time,
middle
it is
class.
disappearing. It is currently disappearing again. Everybody's going back onto the nipple, and we need to get them off and get people working again. This is
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. And you know what I love about what you said, that the healthcare is not a political issue.
It is not. No.
It is not.
No.
Once you got a
Cannot be.
heart beating and you have blood running in your veins, it's not a political issue, and it
No.
should not. It should not
Yeah.
be. And so I know we are gonna have you back, sir. I think, Mr. Franklin, we need to do a series on the hospital. It's long
Yes.
overdue. There's so many questions, but I want to say to those who are watching in the presence of Mr. Gibson, I want to say to them, if you believe you have some idea, something to contribute, we did this before, and very few people come on. We'll have all these people only, like, the first day I was so disappointed. 20 something people come on this Saturday. Probably Saturday was a bad time. But if you're interested, can you take this number? Because I see people here already. I'm gonna get this diaspora needs to be working. They have a lot of information, and we want to get your thoughts and your ideas. I understand that, yes, it's a matter of leadership and all these kinds of different things. But I believe if we could find a place where we could just brainstorm, and come up with some ideas, so that it's more than just a talk, but we're really doing something. And whoever wants to use the ideas, because it's not political, right? It's not political. That's the number. If you're serious, message me. Only serious people message me, right? Okay. So thank you so much. I know that Kimar has some thoughts on this, but we're gonna keep this half hour going. But thank you, Paul, and I know that Kimar has some questions on this as well. Thank you
Sure.
so much for coming. God
A
bless.
pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
Yes, bye. Oh my goodness, that hurts my heart, Mr. Franklin. That hurts my heart, and that's why it's for these reasons that I can't see why people are going to stay home tomorrow, and why I can't see why people going to stay home tomorrow and not come out on the march. Guys, we have to make our voices heard. We have to. We have to. We just have to. Kimar, you have any thoughts there before we segue into? We have a few minutes left. Kimar, you there? Not there yet?
Yeah, I am here.
Yes.
Um, yeah, I asked a question in the comments about this health service contribution that is supposed to be going to the hospital, right?
Mm-hmm.
National insurance collects it and passes it to the hospital. And again, that should be a tax, and it shows up in the figures for the government, but they hide it there.
Wait, now we're not getting the proper account for how much money that health service contribution has made, and the state of the hospital is getting substantially worse. So how could you be increasing investment to the hospital, but it's getting worse?
Mm.
Right? So we need an account from the Minister of Health, who has been missing substantially from his post. And if a minister is missing for extended periods of time, the leader of the country ought to give an account as to what is happening in the post. Appointing a junior minister to the post doesn't solve the issue, because he's still not the substantive minister. We need to know what is happening with the substantive minister of health if he has absconded his post. And if he has absconded his post, then the prime minister needs to appoint a minister of health, right? Because we need answers for that health service contribution. The other thing we need answers for, and this stems from all back. Let's not forget that the former Minister of Health, Jeffrey Bostic stepped down from his seat as a member of Parliament and gave up the post of Ministry of Health after doing one term as a minister, as a member of Parliament for Bridgetown, right? Let's not forget the financial corruption that happened in the Ministry of Health, where people who were ordering the jabs, if it was not exposed that some type of corrupt, if he was robbed, and if he wasn't robbed, we would not have known that those financial arrangements were made to the Minister of Health. The Minister of Health came out and said that he knew nothing about this deal between his ministry and a private contractor, right? So we need investigations there, and we need investigations for all of the money that was spent during COVID. All of those contracts that were issued to build the Harrison's Point facility, right? All of the COVID unit, right? Hiring all of those people as monitors in schools and all of those places under the COVID program, right? We need to know how much money was spent building the accident and emergency, a faulty building that when the rain falls, it washes out the entire place, right? There's not enough seating in it for people. People are always standing
on the floor.
Right? Right? People are outside, sitting down on the ground, right? Then there's extra layers of security, more and more layers of security, which is understandable because they have to protect people, right? But the rules that are being put in place at the hospital, right?
Mm.
They build a new asset. Are you still waiting 4 or 5 and 6 days for somebody to come and see you? And then when you go in to the bed, then people are on the floor sitting down. Can't find beds. The beds don't got sheets, but still you collecting a health service levy on top of the $500 and some million that is allocated to the Ministry of Health, plus whatever supplementals that are given to the Ministry of Health. And still today, as part of the IMF program, the government of Barbados still has not been able to put the contracts registry, which would have given us an entire list of all of the public contracts issued by the government of Barbados during the period of COVID. Right? So we need an audit on the Ministry of Health. We need an audit on that entire COVID program and the jab program. We need audits because up to today, the government never gave a financial account for all of that money that was spent during COVID.
Someone is asking about, a couple people kept bringing this up about the A&E extension. So the question is, that has happened, but we're still having the challenge. So is it a matter of bad management? So if you've extended the A&E, which makes sense, that you extend it, the question is, why is there still an issue? It's not big enough, or
No, Marcia, that is not the issue. You can build the largest hospital in the world, and if you don't have doctors, you're gonna still have a problem. They do not have enough doctors in the A&E, and when they do get them, they treat them badly. Right now, we have doctors who have been working at the QEH for years without their contract and without any real security of tenure. Can't go and get a mortgage, can't go and buy a car at their risk because they're liable to not be called back tomorrow. And the Ministry of Health thinks that this is okay. I have been bothering about this for a long time, complaining about it. I've spoken to the Minister of Health, both Ministers of Health, Bostic and the current Minister. I've spoken to the permanent secretaries, well, not the last one because nobody can speak to her. But this current one, he's new and he promised to look into the situation, but his hands are so full. He might need an assistant minister or something, so because that's where the work is at the permanent secretary level, and he has to be there on a lot of fires. But the problem is, basically, they do not treat the doctors well enough. And the first time a doctor gets an opportunity to go and work in service solution, they get the best as they're gone because they're going to be taken care of and they're going to be taken care of well. Here, we treat our young, look, I said it before and I will say it again. I will not encourage any young doctor to go and work in the public service. They treat them like anything else. For instance, when I complained to the chief medical officer, he said they're not enough posts. I actually sat down at a meeting with the Prime Minister one day complaining about posts in customs. And the Prime Minister turned to the Director General and said, DG, I could get this thing on my desk today? She said yes. And the posts were created within 1 day for customs officers. But you know what was happening? The customs officers were ready to strike. But the doctors feel like they shouldn't strike. And they're suffering. I keep telling them all the time, do like the people on the airplane. They tell you when the oxygen mask come down, put on yours first, so that you will take care of yourself first, then you can take care of other people. But a lot of these doctors are people who went into medical school. They came out of school with this desire to become doctors and serve their community. And so they're actually, this is a profession for them. This is not necessarily a job. They want to come out there and do something for the country. But when the country will not respond to them, and it's not, and the country is not treating them well, we have too many young doctors who want to leave the service of the country because they are treated like they don't get vacation. They don't get a sick leave. If they call in sick a day, they don't get paid. You know, if you want to take a vacation, you got to give it. You have to take you have to take it and don't get paid during the period you on vacation. A lot of them are burnt out. For what? For them to bring in people from overseas, then to recruit them because that's what they do. They treat business well and then bring people from badly and then bring people from overseas. Same thing with the nurses. Treat nurses badly, then they bring nurses from overseas. Mind you, they treat the same nurses badly too. Because I remember when I went to the polyclinic in St. Peter, the place was stink. And I told the nurses in my union, you don't go back in there. That place too stink. I actually smelled. You could smell the thing. It was bad. It smelled like a rat had been dead for 3 or 4 days. And the chief public health nurse came down to the clinic, and all the Ghanaian nurses came up with my nurses, and she told them, if you don't go in there and work, back to Ghana, you terminate your contract. And those poor Ghanaian nurses went in there working filth. Well, the business went home. That's why I show you they treat people very badly here. We have a culture in Barbados, especially in the nursing profession, where senior nurses treat the people below them like the scum of the earth. You wouldn't believe that most of them are women, and they should be in a caring profession. They don't care about each other. I see it all the time. I complain about it all the time. You know, I'll give an example again. You have a situation where a nurse, she has small children, and she wants to work nights because the husband works there, and the husband will be at home at night with the children and stuff. But you got another nurse who wants to work. They say, no. You got to work that shift. They would not be decent enough to say, well, look, okay, you can stay home with your children and take care of your children.
Right.
And to accommodate another nurse who wants to work there. The nurse that wants to work there because she has something to do, they make sure she works night. And the one who can't work night, you know, they put her on shift to work nights. It is the worst I have seen in any sphere. I talk about even the private or public sector nursing profession. The senior nurses in Barbados treat their colleagues, their younger colleagues, as though they're the enemy. If you want to go and study, they wouldn't let you get study. So if you take time off during the time when you're working nights to study during the day, they wait till the exam comes and put you on shift during the day for the exam, so that you can go to the exam. I was not talking about only in the polyclinics and the people and the geriatric hospitals. They're talking and the QH. They do it all the time. They try to make sure that after the nurse study and no time to go to do the exams, they put it on duty at the exam day. I had it one day at a nurse with the geriatric hospital. I tell you, look, they tell you to come when you finish the exam. Well, turn up. When the exam finishes about 3 o'clock, you turn for work. I said, do it all the time. They're just spiteful, and that creates a problem in the nursing profession, because if you are working and people are treating you badly, and people think, but sometimes they think the nurses ain't care. They're tired. They don't know what the nurses go through in Barbados. Most people don't.
I think that this is going to be Mr. Franklin. If the doctors don't want to strike, they don't want to. We the citizens, I think this is something that we're going to have to get on the streets to these people.
There's one other story I want to tell you, because I want to say.
And then I want Kimar to say a couple things. Yeah.
Nurses are a nurse risks her job. I had to go and represent her. She saw a doctor leave the surgery, leave the area was scrubbed, went outside and come back, and they put the one put on gloves and go and operate on the patient. The nurse said, "No, you got to scrub it." And the doctor insists he ain't scrubbing, and then he could nurse to do something. Those gloves are cheap and flimsy, and if that glove bursts inside that patient, you can put all kind of infection that you are not touching my patient. You know, she defended that patient, stopped that patient from being messed up, and they bring charges against her. I had to go down there and get on bad. I wouldn't tell you what they said and what they did, but and the doctors gang up against her because she was protected, and that's her job. She is the patient advocate. She is the advocate for her patients. And you guys have a doctor with dirty hands, won't go into the scrub up, and when she said no, you go scrub up, she get brought to have to get a representative to come to represent her, that kind of nonsense. The whole place, this is like you actually talking about, you know, and the
Yeah,
whole place is breaking down.
yeah, yeah. This is. I think you're stuck. Yeah.
I'm not
You
stuck. The
know,
dog biting me.
Kimar, what how do we what where do we go? This is one of those things that I don't I understand that yes, we have to deal with the present government that is in, and that I realize how, I've been here 22 years. This is the worst that it has been. But we know, you and I would know that it didn't just start with this administration. What do you see? Um, I know you talk about accountability and so on. What can we do, we as citizens, do?
Well, even if you put in somebody fresh tomorrow, the problems will still exist. So it speaks to the overall management of the public service, not only at the level of government, but the actual like hiring of people in jobs, um, people who could treat workers much better. I find that most of the problems that exist in workplaces is because the people who run these organizations on a daily basis sometimes have no clue as to what they're doing, right? Um, as Caswell usually says, is somebody who got a job because they were friends with the minister or friends with the government or friends with somebody or somebody sleeping with somebody or something like that. And you have people who working in the service for X amount of years, who have the experience, who have the talent, who have know the job. These people are pushed to one side to bring in somebody's, concubine or somebody's friend, and that creates low morale in the workplace, right? So I think that we need to look at how we hire people better for jobs. I think we need to put a focus on health. Cuba decided that health was a priority, and they actually invested in their health ministry. That Cuba has one of the best healthcare systems right now in the world because they had leadership that paid attention and prioritized the ministry. So I believe that Barbados can get it done, but we need proper management, we need proper leadership, and we also need to stop allowing the profession like doctors and nurses, start allowing these professions to be infiltrated by people who just doing it because it's a job opportunity, right? You need to give that thanks to what was the word I'm looking for? A pride in becoming a nurse, pride in becoming a doctor, pride in becoming an orderly, because most people are in these jobs for the money, right? Nursing pay a lot of money, you go and study nursing, get paid a lot of money. So that factor, along with the fact that they're getting treated badly in the workplace, compound sometimes the attitudes that the public get when they enter these healthcare facilities, because sometimes the attitudes are not that good. I mean, you're in the middle of pain right now, your family is suffering, somebody's hurt, and sometimes the attitudes to the people are not very good. So then you get people complaining sometimes about the treatment that they get when they enter into the healthcare facilities. But then we understand that the workers are going through their fair set of problem with their employers. Right? So once we could have a functioning, uh, I would say, a human resource plan that we sit and strategically look at the entire human resource across the entire uh, health ministry, look at actually investing in the current hospital, right? In terms of the workers, you pay them properly, you give them set schedules, right? And you run it how it's supposed to be run. And outside of the IMS recommendations as well, because that's what a lot of people are missing here, that the hospital is being run on advice from the IMF. right?
Yes.
So a lot of the cuts and changes here and giving this person a job here and creating this post, all of this is part plans of the IMF to streamline the hospital because the hospital is supposed to become a paid hospital where when you come to the hospital, you have to pay for your health care. So the government is basically phasing that in right now. Now, if you don't have insurance and the money to pay directly, they push you on side and they make you wait because you're accessing the free service, right?
But Himar, what happens here is that our politicians are too dishonest. The hospital, traditionally, healthcare was supposed to be provided by those who had the resources to take care of the rich. So that was our old tax policy. That if you had the resources to pay taxes and the taxes would provide health, water, roads, the basics that you need. Now you are paying even a higher amount of taxes, but now those taxes are not going to where you had intention, where the taxes were originally intended to go. You tax people to provide for a hospital. You tax them to make sure you get good health care. You tax them to make sure the roads are. Look at the roads. Look at the hospital. Everything that the taxes were traditionally intended to do, is not happening. But so where the taxes going, and then they want you to pay it a second time because when you pay taxes, those taxes are supposed to go there first. Sanitation, health. Remember once you had local government to provide for child care. But it wasn't really child care, but it's just house the orphans. Um, they provide the Northern District Council, the Southern District Council, and the city of Bridgetown. They all had their own sanitation. When they come from the farm, local, then the abandoned local government for central government, those things went in with the intention because the local taxes used to go toward paying for them. We continue to pay those taxes, but no, they're asking you to pay for the services that you're getting that you were already paying taxes for. You want you to pay again. This is IMF economics or whatever anybody IMF intends. I know the IMF intends as their stated goal because we're not supposed to have free education. We're too poor for having free education. We're too poor for having free medical health care. But those things were supposed to be provided for already. We're paying taxes for them. Are they going to stop taking the taxes? I dare say not. That's the problem. We have a visionless government. But one thing in mind, to get their hands on the money and spend it among their friends. You spoke just now about the plan for the human resource plan. They got more enough human resource plans in Barbados and over the years. The problem is that politicians then interject themselves into the plans and to make sure that their people get the jobs. A politician had no authority in law or anywhere else to say to the people, I want so and so to get this particular job. No, there's a professional cadre of people who makes those decisions, but the politicians exert themselves. And as a result, then you have to go and bring somebody else to really do the work because the friend that get the job, they know what they're doing. So even the public service is too big because you have too many politicians in there that are not doing the work. Everything, everything is
Yeah,
going wrong.
yeah. On right on the screen here. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, gentlemen. I can hear your passion, and people in the diaspora, some of them are crying, hearing this tonight, and it hurts my heart. And there are some of them there. I believe, when you live outside of Barbados and you would have had certain experiences and so on. I believe that they have something to contribute, and some of those in the diaspora, I believe that they can get together. Wendell Greenwich and V. Hoy, and some of them who are working in this area, in administration and hospital administration and so on. If that's you, you don't need to be in a party to do something. You know, you don't need to live here to be involved either. You know, I believe that we can come together and put the thing together. We don't know where the idea is going to go, because sometimes, as Mr. Franklin is saying, it rests on leadership. And sometimes when if they don't want to listen, then like in Wendell Greenwich's case, then it goes nowhere. But at least let us come together. I think we owe it to ourselves. We owe it to ourselves to find a so this is, to me, this sounds like an administrative, a leadership issue. That's what I think. I think it's a leadership issue. And the first thing that we need to do, I believe, is to Barbadians need to begin to call for the minister. The minister is being paid. If he's not, if it's a case where something is wrong with him, I don't know what the situation is. They need to say something, and somebody needs to be put in that person's place so that that ministry can function. And these are things that we can demand. And this is one of the reasons, we're going out there tomorrow. And if this doesn't move us to get out there, because we have sat down on these things like these too long. You understand? And this kind of thing is so important. They put so much money, Kimar, into that ID. So many millions of dollars. We sat and they put millions of dollars in concrete and iron. Don't get me started at this last minute here.
No, Marcia, don't get started.
Huh?
I don't get started. Tell me something. You remember that thing I sent you today?
Wait, we can't hear you, I don't know what's going on. Somebody's saying,
You remember I sent you something today with the Prime Minister's portfolio?
yes, oh boy, we didn't even get to touch it. Can we touch it the next time?
I want people to see it so they come in March.
Yeah?
I want people to come out and see it. I want people to see it and come out in March because I can get them angry.
Let me just show it real quick here. We didn't even get to touch it. It's so many things, Kimar, so many issues. I'm trying to get my computer here. Oh, yes, I had it up here. Because mine doesn't. Okay, just hang on. I'm doing the best I can with this machine. Okay. Can you all see it?
Yeah, this is a circular from the cabinet secretary that sets out the ministers and the ministerial responsibility. So I just want to show you what the prime minister is responsible for. So just go up or come down, depending on how you feel calling it, on the screen. Yeah. The other things, but I just because we're so late after 10 already, I just want to just come down, come down. And the first minister, the list of duties. Okay, good. The prime minister, she's responsible for cabinet office, and that is appointments in the constitution, president, minister, parliamentary secretaries, electoral matters, government ceremonial, national honors, justice of the peace. Keep going. Yeah, and liaison with state house, national emblems, constitutional reform, parliamentary reform, the judiciary, integrity commission. That's one aspect of her role. Then the next aspect, national transformation initiative, CARK, single market economy, office of the president, the prime minister's official residence. Keep going. Planning and development, the planning and development department, plan development matters, come all the way down, Urban Development Commission, Rural Development Commission, Commonwealth Matters, reparations, commitment for results to CFS program, the ombudsman, roofs, national roofs to reach program, sustainable
Oh my
development
God.
goals, Bridgetown initiative, citizen engagement, water resources, garbage and sewage contribution boards. Coming down, culture, division of culture and policy research, museums, national conservation for commission for UNESCO, the archives, libraries, national cultural foundation, film censorship, establishment of spiritual diversity, reclaiming our Atlantic Destiny Road program, finance, banking and currency, central purchasing, insurance, public finance, relations with International Monetary Fund, taxation, pensions, government procurement department, um, customs, revenue authority, treasury departments, Central Bank of Barbados, the catastrophe fund. I'm running out of breath. I just showing you all the things that she has to be responsible for, and she ain't got the time in Barbados. That's why she want to do it by Zoom. And people sit down and take this nonsense. I start reading, because I just wanted people to see. Just like national security, oh Lord, defense, you name it, defense, security, public service, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. And this is a prime minister who does not spend 3 months of the year in Barbados. You think we're being well served? Come out and let the people know that you're not pleased. Come and march with us tomorrow. You got this information now. If you can't talk about the prime minister, ain't got nothing to do, so she gotta go and find things to do. She has more than she. As a matter of fact, she has assigned these things to herself, and then they want to do them. And then she want it
Wow,
on
this is
Zoom.
this is unbelievable. It is unbelievable. I mean, and even she has there some people that she said minister in state in the prime minister's office. It's the reason she's not allowing them to take, to be in charge of the ministry, because she doesn't have confidence in them. So these are people that probably not equipped. So I don't understand. I mean, we really need to come out. We have placards, so just for this section. Somebody said put the people in sections. We have placards just for this section, dealing with just with the PM and being this remote PM. You want to govern us via Zoom. All of these things impossible, impossible. So please, please, people, everybody, come out tomorrow. Come out tomorrow. What do you want to say to the people tomorrow? Kimar, about tomorrow before we close.
Yeah, well, I just look forward to seeing everybody down there. Just come out, tell friends, share on social media. This is the last hurrah. We want town to be burst like crop over there to show them how serious we are, that we tired, we've had it. And we are serious standing up for what we know is right in Barbados. It is 2024, and we starting out hot. We're in your skin from day one, and we're not letting up. So I still look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.
Yes, yes, yes. So I think Dave wanted to show you it's not working. He wanted to show you all the stuff we did today. We saw today that CG and Mark did up at Caswell's place, but it's not working too well. But
Fast forward them to my sign.
yeah, we're having some challenges with it, but we will put it in the chat. We'll put it in the chat. Thank you all so much for joining, everybody, and staying the extra time with us. There's so much to do each night. We don't get a chance. All of our panelists don't get a chance to say all that they have to say. But we're here. We're going to be here again, God willing, on Sunday, and you're going to hear them tomorrow on the road. Okay. So we want to say good night to everybody. God bless you all. And we see you tomorrow. Bring your water, your umbrella, and come with a good spirit. Come ready to go. Take your medication. Those who need to take your medication, get your vitamins. Be early. Be early. We got our papers, you all. We got it. We got it. We got it. And we're ready to go. Bring your donations. Bring your donations. Bring your donations. Bring your donations. That's going to help us to cover all the expenses. Thanks to those overseas who are telling me that they have sent me donations or diaspora always. Make sure that they help as well. Okay. God bless you all. See you tomorrow,
See you
Judith.
tomorrow.
Everybody, bye-bye. Love
Bye-bye.
you all. Bye-bye.